Gobble, gobble, everybody. Peter Lurie here to take you through this week on HRTV. Former NYRA starter Bob Duncan talks about Quality Road's loading issue in the Classic.
Well, all damn things. Look, gosh, the loads are going great. The starts have been just picture perfect, and here we get to the last horse going in for the big race, and then things start to deteriorate. And the first thing for me and anybody else who's ever been involved in the business is your heart goes out to these guys. You get a lump in your throat or a knot in your stomach would be a better description. And I'm thinking, poor Jay, what choices does he have to make now? And then you do some things instinctively. You may have a plan for certain horses, but sometimes it just goes south. And that horse, it spiraled downward so quickly. I'm not going to sit here and criticize what they did because you need to be there and know exactly what's going on and hear what's happening, and you make choices on that particular day. And I have to tell you, that is an excellent gate crew out there. They have tons of experience. Jay's been a starter for a long time. These boys have started big race days over and over again. This is obviously the second Breeders' Cup in 2 years, so I'm sure they had a plan, and sometimes it just goes south, and my heart went out to him, it truly did.
What was your first encounter like with Quality Road when he ended up back in New York? Did you see that same sort of horse that we saw at Breeders' Cup Classic, or was he a much different horse?
Scott, I didn't. I'm friendly with Jimmy Jerkins and obviously Todd, and we had talked about the horse, and they said, you'll never meet a nicer horse, and I found that to be true. I headed down from Saratoga on Tuesday and got there early enough to duck over the barn, and Todd was there, so we started playing with the horse some there, a bit in the stall, and then we took him out into a paddock, and I found him to be about as kind a horse and as responsive as any horse I've ever worked with. That initial phase when I was out there, I wanted to start creating a relationship with him where he'd move around for me and do certain things with subtle commands. And within 5 or 10 minutes, he was just doing everything perfectly and couldn't have been any kinder about it. And I'm thinking, gosh, it's hard to believe this is the same horse that I watched on television that day. But what I did learn about him, though, is that you've got if you're not clear and you confuse him, or if you force him to do something before he's prepared to do it, he goes into this fight mode, and you just need to avoid that. You need to make sure your instruction is clear, and he's certainly willing to follow you if you do that.
Darren Rogers calls into race day to preview Churchill Downs closing weekend.
A lot of stakes action to talk about, and to do so with us, Darren Rogers from Churchill Downs joining us. Darren, welcome back.
Well, how are you guys today?
We're very good. Happy Thanksgiving week to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Millie and Scott. Yeah, we've got a lot of great action kick-starting today with the 6-day Pick 6 carryover of $74,749. That's on races 5 through 10. It's a 6-day carryover, and then, like you said, tomorrow we kick-start it with the Fall City. Friday is the Clark Handicap, and then Saturday is Stars of Tomorrow 2. All the races are for 2-year-olds. Including the Kentucky Jockey Club and then the Goldenrod. A lot of action.
Darren, we're going to bounce around here a little bit as far as from Friday to Thursday and then back to Friday, but we want to start with the big one, the Grade 2 Clark Handicap. What a field this turned out to be. 14 horses. No lack of talent in this Grade 2.
No lack of talent at all. The Clark, like the Derby and the Oaks, it's been run continuously here at Churchill Downs since 1875, and I think this year's renewal may be one of the best of all time because we've got that full field of 14, like you said, and it's led by defending champ Einstein, and he breaks from the outside stall in post 14 as the mile 7-2 favorite. It's going to be interesting to see what Rajiv Miraz taking over the duties, because Julien Leparoux, he's riding in Japan in a jockey competition. If he would have known that Einstein was going to compete in the Clark Handicap on Friday, he and his agent Steve Bass would not have gone to Japan.
That's great information for us.
It certainly is, because it was something that we were just discussing prior to talking to you, Darren. Well, let's jump back to Thursday now. The Fall City Handicap, Grade 2 event, 1 1/8 for the fillies and mares 3 and up. And Unbridled Belle, she's another one. She's kind of like the foil to Einstein as far as the male to the female. She's one of these horses that we've seen so many times run, and every now and again she'll put in a disappointing effort, but boy, she was not disappointing last time out in the Turn Back the Alarm.
No, she wasn't disappointing. That's probably why Mike Battaglia made Unbridled Bell the 7-5 favorite. But Swift Temper, she's beaten Unbridled Bell, I believe. Is it on 3 occasions now? Yeah, 3 occasions. And, she's the 5-2 second choice.
Aaron and Jeff give thanks for a few holiday winners.
But Sarah Louise is coming out of the Breeders' Cup, and I really didn't think that she really was all that thrilled with the pro ride surface out here. I think she's more of a dirt runner, and I think she's going to bounce back. She didn't run badly in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. She was only beaten 5 lengths when finishing 4th behind an informed decision in Ventura, both of whom will be odds on in this race. So Sarah Louise trying to get back on track. She, of course, the last filly to have beaten Rachel Alexandra.
She will go down as that horse,
That's if she does nothing else. Yeah. At least she has that.
At the top of the stretch, Sarah Louise coming to the 8th pole. Coming to the 8th pole with a narrow lead. Sprightly really making her work for it. And on the outside, it's Just Whistle Dixie. Sarah Louise fully extended, trying to hold off Just Whistle Dixie. Sarah Louise, Just Whistle Dixie. Sarah Louise did it, but did it narrowly.
Euro Ears, the hometown champ, returns to Louisiana. Now I'm talking about a horse who's won 7 out of 10 lifetime. He's a perfect 2 for 2 at the fairgrounds. He's won 5 out of 6 at 6 furlongs, and he absolutely has a pace advantage on many of these horses.
Euro Ears in front. Southern Style fully stretched. Tempo 5 with a green cap. Suck is stand side, just above the 16th pole. Jamie Theriault with Euro Ears kept to the task. Euro Ears leads Tempo 5. Euro Ears back in the Big Easy with a win in the Thanksgiving Handicap in 109-1.
The best bets of the weekend, sponsored by visitlasvegas.com. Q Cameron, we need a winner back-to-back.
Well, I think the race at Churchill Downs is the Kentucky Jockey Club for 2-year-olds. And, of course, if any 2-year-old who can win this race at Churchill is going to have some dreams and hopes and wishes for Kentucky Derby consideration. And I think Super Saver is the right one.
And Super Saver has gone clear now by 5 lengths as they race inside the final 16th. Super Saver is out in front for Calvin Burrell, giving chase Williams Kitten, but the Kentucky Jockey Club goes to Super Saver, a 3rd win in the race for Calvin Burrell.
Helen Pitts gives insight into Einstein's entry in the Clark and his future.
Well, campaigning Einstein is his trainer, Helen Pitts. Helen, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Millie. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Here with Peter Lurie. And Helen, first we have to ask you, how did Einstein travel back and, prepare for this race?
He's come back great. I think he was very glad to be back at Churchill. He just loves it there, and but he's traveled great. He's come back to Churchill. He's been training super. He had a nice breeze last week, and he's been great.
Helen, this horse has been so honest over the years, and I think it really does say a lot about your closeness with him and his training abilities. When you come out of a race like the Classic, where really you're kind of scratching your head and saying, maybe it's just not our day, what do you do after, you give it a couple days to settle? What do you do to get back on the board?
Well, I just, even just cooling out after the Breeders' Cup, he was in good form, and I really was scratching my head, and I thought, well, we'll get him back, and took all the things we needed to do to make sure everything was okay, and we got him back to Churchill, and he was just tearing the barn down, and I made me scratch my head even more, but, we've just gone on with him, and he's just been happy as can be, and he's moving great, and he's, just, I don't know, I guess you turn the page and move on, but he's come out of it super, and that's the main thing, and that's kind of what I had to tell myself, is there's no answers, but as long as he's okay, that's the main thing.
Helen, you say danced every dance. I mean, if you looked at him as a boxer, he's never ducked anybody. He's always been in there. $2.9 million in earnings. In an era where you see so many horses maybe prematurely out of racing because of the breeding industry, how refreshing is it to have a full horse like this who keeps coming back?
It's phenomenal. I think it's great for the industry, but it's good for him. It's let him, he's got a great fan club for the years that he's put into the game, and you know, I felt kind of bad. I ran him against Curlin, but like you said, I put him up against the best, and he's given me everything he's got every time, and he's just never stepped down. And unfortunately, you know, Breeders' Cup wasn't his day, but you know, I can't complain with everything else he's done for me.
And Helen, obviously, as most people know, and we just had on the graphics, will be heading to stud duty at Adena. Is it going to feel a little sad when that finally does happen and you come in the morning and Einstein's not there anymore?
Sad is probably not even a word that can describe it. It's going to be a quiet day and a sad day. I mean, it's just, I don't want to think about it. But it's going to be hard.
I feel for you, Helen, because it's like losing a dog or, you know, a pet that you're used to seeing greet you in the morning, every morning. So we wish you the very, very best of luck in today's Clark Handicap.
Well, thank you very, very much, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Let's do it, girl.
Good luck, Helen.
Thank you. Thanks.
Helen joining us by phone.
Terry Finley gets us up to speed on West Point Thoroughbreds Weekend Runners.
We mentioned Terry Finley, the founder and president of West Point Thoroughbreds, has been kind enough to join us on the phone. Terry, it's Millie and Pete here. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, on my way to Aqueduct, so very excited about the day, Peter and Millie.
You got a big day ahead of you at Aqueduct. Just Whistle Dixie. Terry, as you know, fillies develop a lot between their 3-year-old and their 4-year-old year. You know, how have you seen her develop in 5 months as she ends the, you know, her 3-year-old campaign?
Well, you know, she's bigger and stronger than she was, you know, back in May and June, Millie. You know, but we're not concerned about it. But we've had fillies kind of come into their own as 4-year-olds, and we've had others that really don't turn the corner. So that's really what we're waiting for anxiously, to see how she runs today and really see she's one of those fillies that is in a position to turn the corner as a 4-year-old, because you know, you get a good older filly that can go 8 or 9 furlongs, you're going to have some fun.
Terry, you're on your way, obviously, to New York for the Aqueduct for the Top Flight Handicap, but another of your, well, big guns is going to be competing in the Clark Handicap this afternoon at Churchill Downs. Macho, again, with all the talk about who's going to be the Eclipse Award for this, the Eclipse Award for that, you have to get kind of excited about Macho again. Again, another horse that hasn't ducked anybody and came very, very close to eclipsing a horse by the name of Rachel Alexandra.
Yeah, Peter, that was a great day. You think back, and I have to admit, every once in a while I do look at that video on YouTube, because there literally has to be, when you look at all the views on all the different videos. I mean, it's probably close to 1 million views with all of them added up. So, you know, I mean, he's a horse that's been at it for all year long. He's competed against, and he's been successful against really the top of the class. Of the 4 and 5, the older horses, all year long, all over the country. So he's really been a pleasure to be around and to own. And you know, we all know you just don't get these kind of horses very often. It doesn't matter what you spend at the sales or what you breed. You really have to be blessed, and you have to really give thanks that you're privileged enough to be around a horse like this.
The DRF's David Grenning gives his insight on the Cigar Mile and the Gazelle.
David Grenning from the Daily Racing Form. David, thanks for joining Pete and Millie here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
We did. Did you?
I did.
Excellent.
Where else would you rather be than Aqueduct for Thanksgiving? Come on.
There you go.
I'm telling you. I love that track. David, especially when it gets, the winter shows up and you start getting a little bit of snow and it's warm inside and cool outside. That's a fun track to go to.
Absolutely. You'll have to tell me where the warm spots are in the racetrack.
Clubhouse by the Zabaro's Pizza.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm going to write that down.
The baked ziti is tremendous.
David, it's a big stakes weekend coming up at Aqueduct, kicking off tomorrow. One of the races, the Hillendale Cigar Mile. It's a Grade 1. And looking through this field, I could make a case for almost every horse in here. How did you see the Hillendale Cigar Mile setting up this year?
Yeah, I agree. It's only 6 horses, but it's still a very competitive race, even without Munnings and Quality Road, who took those horses out of the race. He takes some of the speed out. Driven by Success should go to the front from the rail under Ramon Dominguez. And then I think Vineyard Haven's sort of the key to the race on how he's going to run. He's finally getting out to probably his best or most preferred distance, the mile, which he won the Champagne at last year in his final start at 2. This year, after the Dubai race, where he just didn't seem to really relish training in Dubai, and he didn't run very well in the UAE 2000 Guineas. But when he came back to North America and he got back on the dirt, he ran a dynamite race in the King's Bishop. Just unfortunate that he got DQ'd. And then he won the De Francis at a distance that I don't think he really prefers. But he's got a lot of speed, and I think he'll be stalking Driven by Success. And I think he'll get first run on the closers such as Kodiak Cowboy, Pyro, and Brebone, and they're going to have to run him down in the stretch. And haven't been too many horses who have been able to do that.
What about the Eclipse Awards for a sprinter? Although this is a one-turn mile, how much do you think this Cigar Mile could impact the sprint division this year?
I think it could, especially if Kodiak Cowboy were to win it. I mean, everyone, including myself, has an immense amount of respect for Fabulous Strike, who, you consider him the best dirt sprinter probably in the country. And there's a horse, Kodiak Cowboy, has beaten him twice in Grade 1 races, the Carter here in April at 7/8, and then the Vosburg over that really messy racetrack at Belmont in October. And he also has another great, he has another stakes win, $200,000 race in his pocket in Philadelphia. Granted, it wasn't a top quality race, but if he gets a third Grade 1, and I know the mile is sort of a tricky distance on whether you consider it a sprint or not, but if you have 3 Grade 1s under your belt, 2 of them in which you beat Fabulous Strike, and with no clear-cut sprinter else out there, I think you got to give him a long look.
We just wanted to sort of pick your brains a little bit on the return of Stardom Bound tomorrow in the Gazelle.
I think it's a lot to ask for her to come off this layoff. She hasn't run since April 4th. To go a mile and an eighth on dirt for the first time. If she does it, that would be great because it gives us something to look forward to next year. Because then she can handle dirt and whatever issues she had, she's back. I know in talking to Richard Dutrow, her trainer, before he went on suspension, he was pretty high on where she was at. She's had a couple breezes since then, and the connections in the barn, the owners, and everyone seem to be high on her chances. But on paper, I just have a hard time seeing it. I think there's possibly an emerging star in this race and an unrivaled belle. Her 3 races since they got her around a length, out in distance a little bit and back on dirt were very good in my eyes. And I'm interested to see how she runs. And then Flashing and what's going to be her final start of her career. She's already a Grade 1 winner. She's 2 for 2 at Aqueduct and has handled this distance. I just think Stardom Bound has a lot of obstacles to overcome, and I hope she proves me wrong, but I wouldn't pick her tomorrow.
Jill Byrne gives the lowdown on Churchill Downs closing weekend.
The Churchill Downs Fall Meet will come to a close Thanksgiving week. 5 days of racing Tuesday through Saturday and 5 stakes races on the card as well. We start out with the Fall City Handicap on Thanksgiving Day and end Stars of Tomorrow, the Goldenrod and the Kentucky Jockey Club. Sandwiched in between, the River Cities, and it is the Grade 2 Clark Handicap presented by Norton Healthcare. The Clark, always the marquee race of the Fall Meet, and this year we have defending champion Einstein back in the Clark Handicap. Einstein looking to rebound from an uncharacteristic poor performance out in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now he will face Macho again. Macho again, the winner here of the Stephen Foster Handicap in the summer meet where he defeated Einstein. And Macho again looking to keep that record intact against Einstein here in the Clark Handicap. A great rendition of the Clark Handicap presented by Norton Healthcare as we end the Churchill Downs Fall Meet for 2009.
He just had a little cough going into the race, so we just figured it would be best just to not go all the way out there. And since we had this race in front of us, the freshness and the way he likes this racetrack and competitive as he is, he should be very tough. He's doing very well. He's trained well up to the race. We're very happy with the way he's performed throughout the year, and hopefully we can close it out good.
Yeah, it's a tough race, but my horse loves this track. I think he likes the dirt here at Churchill even more than he likes the poly, which his last few races have been very good on the poly, but getting beat by Furthest Land in the Turfway race, and then he goes out and wins the Breeders' Cup. But I really don't think the poly is my horse's best surface, but he loves it here at Churchill, and I feel like we're going into the race in good shape. He's coming off of a few good races in a row, including a win there at Keeneland. So if we're going to try the big dogs, we're going to do it now.
It'd be it for the year. For his retirement, I'm not sure. That's kind of up to Mr. Stronach, but you know, we'll discuss it after we run and see how we run in the Clark. But you know, we'll have to play it by ear after that.
Calvin Burrell makes every mount count on Churchill's closing day.
Inside the final furlong now, Brown-Eyed Baby is out in front, and he's gamely finding more for Calvin Burrell. Racing up towards the line, Brown-Eyed Baby wins for the second time at Churchill Downs. Brown-Eyed Baby wins, tight second. Katie now delivers a challenge to the outside. Oscar de la Thorne down the outside, staying on. Quick Breeze racing inside the final furlong. It's Calvin Burrell and Katie now, who have gone to the lead of over 2 lengths to pick and pray towards the inside. On the outside, Jill Marie is finishing to effect. It's a double for Burrell. Katie now wins. Down the lane, and it's now Sheer Beauty with a slender lead to the outside. This is Check the Label, Sheer Beauty back in third. Jody Slew to the outside, Cactus Cadillac. They're inside the final furlong now. Sheer Beauty and Calvin Burrell are out in front to Check the Label back in second. 3 on the day for Calvin. Sheer Beauty wins. And Super Saver has gone clear now by 5 lengths as they race inside the final 16th. Super Saver is out in front for Calvin Burrell, giving chase Williams Kitten, but the Kentucky Jockey Club goes to Super Saver, a 3rd win in the race for Calvin Burrell.
Trainer Bruce Levine talks about Remsen winner Buddy Saint's 3-year-old season.
I know you were expecting big things from him today in the Remsen, and he delivered in a big way.
Yeah, you know, he broke his maiden first time up. I got disqualified. Then he came back in the Nashua, which showed a lot of confidence. Bruce showed, taking a maiden and won him in the Nashua. He just pulverized that field. Now he goes 1 1/8, and couldn't have been more impressive than that.
Sky is the limit, as we are now joined by his trainer, Bruce Levine, joining us live. Bruce, congratulations on the win this afternoon, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
This colt, you talk about having all the upside in the world. It looks like he's still maturing and growing into himself. What's he like to be around, his mannerisms, and how talented is he at this point?
You know, he's got a great disposition, but he's still kind of like a big baby. You know, he's still a lot, you know, he's got immatureness to him, but he's got a great head on him and a great disposition. I mean, he's great in the paddock. You know, he shifts. He takes his attention bond well. I mean, nothing rattles him. He's great with that, but I know he's going to get better with each and every start.
Okay, so what's next? Obviously, you mentioned he's going to get a little break now. You've got that foundation underneath him. So where are you headed, and what's going to be the plan for his 3-year-old campaign?
He'll make his next start. Everything's fine. He's going to make his next start at Gulfstream. We got stalls down there. We're taking some horses down there, and you know, we look forward to doing that. So we'll probably run, you know, the 2 preps down there and maybe the Florida Derby. I'm not crazy about the 6 weeks with the Florida Derby, so I'll have to see, you know, how that falls and stuff. But basically, probably the middle of December, we'll head down to Gulfstream.
Well, you know that he likes Aqueduct, and he ran today on the Outer Dirt, the Wood Memorial on the Outer Dirt, 4 weeks out from the Kentucky Derby. And I know that's getting way ahead of ourselves, Bruce, but have you ever trained, is this the best 2-year-old this time of year that you've ever trained?
Yes, he is, by far. By far.
Buddy Saint today in the Grade 2 Remsen Stakes. Once again, Bruce, congratulations with this victory, this colt, and best of luck in the future with Buddy Saint. Thanks once again for taking the time.
That's all for this week on HRTV. Here's a look at what's coming up next week.
As they come down the lane on the outside now, Blame has come through, and Blame is also posting a big effort. Einstein is next. followed on the outside by Giant Oak. Deep stretch. Blame has just got the lead. To the inside, Misremembered. Einstein is flying late. Racing up towards the line. Blame is holding them. Blame wins the Clark.